This is part two, and it's more a description of how we got into this mess and how we can get out of this mess. It's called having integrity and speaking the truth. Here we go.
Destructive enact was Trump's withdrawal of the United States from the JCPOA.
There have been issues, excuse me, about the concern of Iran getting a nuclear weapon. And those concerns go back decades. And the Iranians have said repeatedly that on religious grounds alone, on the supreme leader's command, they are not aiming for a nuclear weapon. And they have held that consistently for more than 30 years. Israel has claimed, and this is especially Bibi Netanyahu, that the breakout to nuclear weapons would happen within a week, a month, a year. And he's been saying that since 1996. Bibi Netanyahu is absolutely one of the most obnoxious liars in the world and one of the most destructive leaders in the world, who has pulled the United States into more terrible misadventures than anybody. And he's been wrong on this issue for decades. But it has been Israel's purpose to overthrow the Iranian government for decades. Now, the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, was a negotiated agreement between Iran and the permanent 5 members of the UN Security Council and Germany. So it's called the P5+1, reached in 2015, that would have put Iran's nuclear program under strictest surveillance of the International Atomic Energy Agency and the and the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. And it was ratified a few days after the signing by the P5+1 unanimously by the UN Security Council. In other words, Iran negotiated, the negotiations were successful, an agreement was reached, the International Atomic Agency was monitoring this, and then Trump ripped it up. That's the basic story. That's the story with so much of our problem in the world. The United States can't take yes for an answer. The United States couldn't take yes for an answer after 1991 with Russia. It demanded subservience of Russia. It overthrew governments in Russia's neighborhood. It tried NATO expansion contrary to promises. And the United States could not take yes for an answer with regard to Iran. Why is that? Well, the Zionist lobby is the overwhelming reason. In other words, Israel said, no, do not negotiate, do not have diplomacy with Iran. We want to overthrow the government of Iran. And Trump, backed financially by this lobby, ripped up the JCPOA in 2018. And the United States whines all the time, the Iranians don't negotiate, the Iranians don't negotiate. The United States does not honestly negotiate. When it succeeds in negotiating an agreement, it then repudiates its own agreement, whether it's no NATO enlargement, whether it's the anti-ballistic missile treaty, whether it was an agreement reached on February 21, 2014 with Yanukovych, that he would remain in power and that on that basis there would be elections in Ukraine in 2015. And then Obama repudiated that the very next day. So the problem isn't Iran negotiating. The problem is the United States not only does not believe in the UN Charter, it doesn't even believe in its own word, which is pretty much worthless because the U.S. repudiates its own negotiations.
What are the strategic risks?
So now you know. Obama undid it. So what's going on behind the scenes? You have to go back to Israel. You have to go back to the Zionist lobby, Zionism. That's who runs our country. And Hillary Clinton and Obama committed war crimes. In fact, I wrote a letter to Obama when he was first elected and told him about the use of drones for tactically, strategically removing targets. And that way it would minimize death of innocent people. And look what he did with the helicopters when they gunned down those newsmen. I was blown away. I've written lots of letters to presidents, just to let you know, all the way when Ross Perot was running for president. Why do I do this? Because I'm a strategist. Because when I was born again, I realized that the world was still in a chaotic state, and that we could come together if we just communicated and stopped playing this chess game or a monopoly game that one has to be superior to others. So it led me down this path that I've been on since the time I was a little kid, figuring out why the world's so fucked up and figuring out how to create solutions so we stop this repetitive game. So we can go to a reboot 2.0, which is just dragging some more of this shit in there, have some temporary peace, and we all get along for a while and it'll just unravel. Or we can go to 3.0. Reboot 3.0 breaks the ties of the past. Don't worry, military industrial complex. You'll have a whole new system you'll be operating under, and it's not building weapons to blow up the fucking world. There's a whole bunch more money to be made on the other option of changing what this military is. We don't need military if we all work together and we create a global economy together. We just have to dump that old system. So this is the Conscious Hour. Reboot 3.0 is where we need to go. Reboot 2.0, don't even talk about it when they say, oh, well, we just have to make it through this and make some alterations. And we just keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again. This is the Conscious Hour. Tune in, turn on, share it, hit the like button. If you want to donate to the 501c3. The money that comes in goes right out to the people in need. Thanks for tuning into the Conscious Hour and spread the word.